Be the change. Be the change. The most difficult thing to do on planet Earth. Be the change. Well, we're going to try and be the change anyway, right? Because it's what we need. So I wanted to talk about, I felt guided to talk about ego living versus soul living. And I know that most of us are completely identified with our ego. We don't even really consider anymore that we have a soul, or that there's another way of being, or like there's another way of feeling, or another way of, because everybody's just become the ego. So what is the ego? Think about it. What do you think when I say ego to you? What does that mean to you when I say ego? Like, what is ego living? How do you feel when I see that, when I say that, and what does it mean to you when I say that? And there is a big difference in ego living and soul living. So ego living is like, it's like your personality. So it's not something that you have to get rid of it, or you can never have it again, or you have to take it off and discard it. No, you can keep it, but it's like you have to be also aware that these are, like, the ego is, you are, so the ego is a culmination, it's a gathering of labels that you identify with, that you find to be appropriate or you find to be right. And so these are the things that I am in my life. So I am successful, I am well respected in my community, I am this age, whatever age you are. I am what color you are. Like, I am this color. I am this. I'm from this place, so I was born here or there, and I was. What hobbies do you have? What do you like to do? What do you like to spend your time doing? Um, Religion. What kind of religion do you have? What job you have? And this is all from Eckhart Tolle and The Power of Now. He talks about the ego a lot, which it makes sense, because these tags that we get, like, you're born here on planet Earth, you plop out on somewhere on planet Earth, you're a person. So I bring it down to, like, you're a person, you plop out somewhere on planet Earth, and then they teach you whatever the culture is or whatever the norm is in those areas that you grew up in. That's what you're going to teach. That's what they're going to teach you. And so this is who you become. And now you have, like, okay, so I was born there, and I was this, and I was this, and I was this. And so then I can never be that, because people that do that, they don't ever become that. Or, like, people who believe this, they can never do that because that's not a part of the belief system. Or, like, people who are this age, they cannot do that because that's not a part of their age group. Or, like, people who are wearing those clothes, they have to be that age because only those people wear those clothes. Or there are so many rules that we put into our who we then become. And now you are this, now you have to uphold it, and you have to be this, and now you have to be this character that is put together by different labels. So here you are, a wonderful, perfectly imperfect human being, like we all are, and here we are on planet Earth, and we're hopping around adhering and following all these rules that come with these labels that we have. And which, now that I understand it, it's kind of funny to me because I did it for a long time. Like, me coming from my where I came from, there was a lot of rules and regulations that I was upholding, and I was continuing to live my life in suffering, because people who came from those circumstances, they always would suffer, or they probably would kill themselves. But so there are rules that follow everything that you have experienced, and everything that comes into your life. There are rules, and there are preconceived notions, it's called in a fancy way. So people already know what those type of people were supposed to do, or what they're supposed to do. And if you're like, of this way or that way, you have to do that, or then you have to do that, and you can't do this. So if you're like so if you have the tag of being a Christian, and then you want to go and look at your internal self, and you want to go on a spiritual retreat where they're going to teach you about your inner values, your inner stuff, and all that stuff, you might not go there because your belief system is saying that it's wrong. People like that belong to us, they don't do that. They don't do that. And so there you are, then, a human. And now you're going to get blocked, because now that's going to take away from your inner journey. And or if you're like a certain age, and you're like this age, you're like 50, And now you're like 50 and you're you're like, okay, I want to start playing guitar. And then it's like, no, people at 50, they can't start playing guitar because you only learn that, like, you have to start when you're young. You can never be a good guitarist if you start playing guitar at 50. And it's like, okay, so if the person, the 50-year-old, believes in that, now the 50-year-old is not going to start playing guitar because they can never be good at it. And that's just nonsense, because it doesn't matter. But the beliefs that we hold, if we believe in these things, we're going to make it come true, right? Because I'm already believing it. So now I'm going to be a crappy guitarist, or I'm never going to start because it's no use, because somebody said that I couldn't do it. Or like, there are so many things that if you believe in it, you're going to make it come true. And with these labels, like, think about it. If you think about your life, like, where do you go out to eat? Maybe you'll never go to those places, because I'm a vegan. I'm a vegan, and I can only go to holistic places. Or like, you are so there are different things, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's a little bit funny to me anyway. And so because, like, we're humans, we are all of these things, and it's good to have preferences, and maybe you like that better and you like that more. But there's nothing wrong or right. It's just personal preferences. And so you can love whatever you love, and that's okay. And then you can, that's like the soul living will take you there. The soul living, the ego living will keep you trapped in the label land. It's going to keep you trapped in the rules and the regulations of the labels. But the labels, they don't feel, and the labels, they don't have passion, and the labels, they don't have excitement, and the labels, they don't have all these things. They're just labels. And you're more than that. You're way more than that. Like, so being soul living, you're going to be like, okay, let me try that out. Or like, if it calls for you, like, maybe there's a little voice inside of you. That's your intuition, which is the voice of the divine. That's where you are in alignment with all that is. When you listen to that little voice inside of yourself, you are in alignment with all that is. And then you're going to make choices that not always make sense to the labels, because because the labels, they don't listen to the intuition. The labels listens to, or they read the rule book. The labels have their own rule book, and this is the rules for this label. So the label comes with a rule. And so if you identify as a generation whatever, generation X, or whatever they're called, then these are the rules for your generation, and that's who you're going to be. And so read the rule book and stay to that. Whereas your soul living might be like, okay, I feel inclined to try that. I feel inclined to do that. Like, something is just drawing me. I'm curious about that. Maybe I should try it out. And then you go there and you try it out, and maybe it's something that will enrich you, how you feel. And you're going to be, wow, I'm so glad I did that. That felt really good. And now you're going to be like in your own pathway. And that's the difference, because the rules and the regulations of the labels is going to be very restrictive. And it's very scary to be walking and living with those rules, because you don't know if you're breaking the rules. What happens if I break the rules? Oh, nobody's going to like me if I break the rules. They're never going to like me. They won't talk to me again, and they won't have anything to do with me if I break the rules. And so you have to stay with the rules, and then, or you have to become like them. You are invited to come to us and be with us if you just cut out those things. Cut out that and cut out that. But I love those things. Those things make me feel so good. Those things make me feel like I'm alive. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love life. Nope, that doesn't matter. Like, you are going to be in the rule book of us. And so if you want to belong over here, you have to do that. And these are the choices that we make all the time. And usually the pressure to go away from your soul living is bigger than the pressure to go to it, because more people are living from the ego. From the ego is going to lead to a life that is going to feel unfulfilled, and maybe also a little confusing, because you did all the right things and you did everything that everybody always asked you to do, and you're still feeling, and it doesn't feel right, and you don't feel good, and now you're sad and resentful because whatever, you never did what with your life what you was called to do, the calling. And so the ruins of the past, sometimes we get lost in the things that have happened in life. I lived my life from ego all, like, throughout most of my life. And it's like, okay, I can be resentful, sad, bitter. I can be a victim. I can be all these things. That is usually what the people with my tags are supposed to do. So I could do that if I wanted to. And I did it for a very long time. I did all those things. And it was just, it sucked. Like, my life was sucked. And it was just like, what is this? This sucks. And so how can I change it? Because, and I know now that I could have changed it at any time, and I could have found the inner peace. I could have found the inner joy, and I could have found the enjoyment of the world around me at any time. I could have done it at any time, but I didn't know any better until I did it. So this is your calling. This is me calling to you out there, saying that you can do it too. You can change it, but you have to first just, okay, what do you identify as? What are these roles and these labels that if you're gonna describe who are you? I am, and then you write down all these things that you are on a list, and then you look at them, and these are the labels that you call yourself, and every single of those labels have a rule book. And so these are the rules that you live by in your life, and that's your GPS in your life. I'm asking you to be brave enough to acknowledge that. That's good. You can have those, and you can still go those places and do those things, but just be aware that there is another voice, an inner voice that is yours specifically, that has nothing to do with the rule books of other people. It has nothing to do with already laid out plans from other people. It has nothing to do with that. This has everything to do with your passion, what's going to make you happy, what's going to make you thrive in your life, what's going to make you feel, oh yeah, I love living. Living is great. I cannot wait to get up to another day and all that good stuff. So how can you find that with your life? You have to be aware of just like, what are the roles that you are playing every day, and how can you break through to find that inner voice? How can you hear that, feel, those little nudges that you have, like, or the little curiosity that you have that you really shouldn't be curious about, though, because that's wrong according to rule number 224b in chapter 595 in the label of age. So in your age group, you're not allowed to do that, but still you're in your age and you're feeling like, I really would like to try that. Then maybe you should just give it a try. You don't even have to tell the group over there if you need to keep it quiet so they don't judge you, or you're afraid of judgment or being thrown out of the group, whatever. Trust it anyway. This is your voice. This is what's going to make your life feel like wow. And this is how you're going to be thriving. This is how you're going to show up in all those tedious day-to-day life business that we have. And you're going to show up and you're going to be happy. You're going to be joking with people. You're going to be an asset of good in the life. You're going to spread good vibrations. And trust me, people don't really always like it, but you're going to love it. And the label people over there, they don't like it because that's what they're missing. But you can be the example, and then you can show them, okay, these are your labels, because we all live by labels. That's how we're being trained. That's how we've been taught all our life. We live by labels. That's who we are now, the label person. And so you showing and finding your inner voice, finding your passion, doing things that make you feel good, doing things that make you happy, and not just like, oh yeah, the group over there is supposed to be, we're supposed to go on a walk in the woods and then it's going to make us feel happy. And so I did that today. Yeah, I went on a walk in the woods and it makes me feel happy. Well, if you didn't feel happy, it didn't really make you feel happy. But according to the labels, it was one of the things that you can do, and it's supposed to make you feel happy. But if you didn't really feel happy, you're missing out the point. And so how can you find, this is like a rebirth. It's like born again, born again into my own dang self, and born again into my own inner voice, born again into my own passions, born again to all the fun stuff in life, born again to being childlike, but wise. And so how can you do it? Like, realize we're always blooming. We're always changing. Like, how can you balance your relationships? How can you find your self-expression? How can you set your boundaries around you so that you don't allow the label people to come in and mess up your soul life? How can you put the boundaries around you? So this is a period for you of a spiritual awakening. This is the great awakening. Like, we are more than those labels. And thank God for that. Hallelujah. And all the good stuff. Thank God for that, because that life is no fun. It's no good. It doesn't feel right. It's not right. It's not love. God is love. God is good. God is love. And so once you start to embody your own true authentic self, you're going to feel these things, and all of a sudden you're going to be like, wow, this is great. Life becomes great. And so you have entered into a period of spiritual awakening and rebirth, and this is allowing yourself to go from being skeptical to everything, being judgmental to things, being this is how it is, and it's always been like that, and it's always going to stay like that. And being of all that of all that stuff, you're going to be like, no, I'm going to rebirth myself, and I'm going to hop out here on planet Earth in my own true bloom, because you're blooming out there. That's what's going to happen. You're going to be blooming. You're going to be rising up as a different version of yourself that you're going to love it. And so you have the opportunity to align with your higher self and the overarching principles that guide you. The angels say to be prepared to be the best that you can be. And that's exactly what you are going to get once you make clear in your life what are the labels that you are living by, and how can you find and listen to that inner voice of yours. How can you nourish and find that inner stillness, that inner voice within yourself? You have reached a new level and a new land to be discovered. There is something for you there, and I can assure you of this. This is 110% true. I've been through it. The awakening is terrifying. It's scary. The ego is going to be like, oh no, you are not going to let go of me. Soul is going to be like, just do it anyway. Just do it. But it's just a whisper. You have free will. You can do whatever you want to do. But if you listen to this little voice inside, that's where you're going to find your joy, your happiness, your peace, and all the namastes. And the beautiful light in me, the beautiful light in you, it honors it, loves it, and respects it. And until next time, namaste.